Captain Gray's antenna twitched nervously as he watched the massive harvester ships move into position around Earth's orbit. The blue planet below looked peaceful, unaware of what was about to happen. Standing on the observation deck of the command ship, his four-fingered hand pressed against the transparent barrier as he tried one last time to stop this madness. "High Commander, please reconsider this mission," Gray said, turning to face the tall, imposing figure beside him. "You don't understand what you're about to do." High Commander Red, his scales gleaming under the starlight, didn't even bother to look at him. "Captain Gray, your concerns have been noted and dismissed. These humans are barely a level 2 civilization. They haven't even colonized their own moon permanently." Gray moved closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "But sir, you're not targeting their military bases or their resources. You're planning to take their children." "Precisely." Red finally turned, his vertical pupils narrowing. "Young specimens are always the best for our research. Their minds are more adaptable." The word made Gray's stomach turn. He had spent the last 5 years studying humans from a distance, and everything he had learned screamed that this was a terrible idea. He pulled out his data pad and displayed it in the air between them. "Look at these observations, sir. Humans have an unprecedented protective instinct toward their young. Even their entertainment media is filled with stories about parents going to extraordinary lengths to protect their children. They call it mama bear syndrome when they're females." "Enough." Red's tail slapped against the floor in irritation. "Your fascination with human culture has clouded your judgment, Captain. They are primitive beings who haven't even unified their planet. What can they possibly do against our technology?" Gray watched helplessly as the first harvester ship began its descent into Earth's atmosphere, its cloaking technology making it invisible to human detection systems, or so they thought. "Sir, their technological level isn't what concerns me. It's their response when they discover their children are missing." "They won't discover anything," Red said confidently. "Our operation will be complete before their next solar rotation. 30 specimens, carefully selected from different regions. They'll simply think the children wandered off, as young ones often do." In the corner of the observation deck, the ship's AI displayed a hologram of the target locations. Small towns, quiet neighborhoods, places where disappearances might go unnoticed for a few crucial hours. Gray felt sick watching the red dots appear across the human nations. America, Russia, China, India, and several others. "The collection teams are in position," announced a voice over the ship's communication system, awaiting final authorization. Gray made one last desperate attempt. "Sir, I've studied their history. Do you know what happened when someone called Hitler tried to take Jewish children from their parents? Or how humans respond when even one child goes missing? They have entire organizations, systems, and protocols." "Authorization granted," Red interrupted, speaking into his command link. "Begin the collection." Gray's antenna drooped in defeat as he watched the harvester ships disappear into Earth's atmosphere. He walked to his private quarters, his steps heavy with dread. On his wall display, he pulled up his research files on human behavior. Articles about parents lifting vehicles off trapped children. Stories of mothers and fathers traveling across continents to find their lost ones. Military operations launched to rescue single children. "Computer," he spoke softly, "begin recording personal log." The computer beeped in acknowledgement. "Day 1 of the human collection mission. I fear the collective has made a terrible mistake. They see humans as primitive because they measure advancement by technology alone. They don't understand that the most dangerous creature in any galaxy is not the one with the biggest weapons." He paused, watching as the first collection team reported successful capture of a child. "It's the one protecting its young." The small town of Pine Grove slept peacefully under a blanket of stars. In one of its quiet neighborhoods, 10-year-old Amy Thompson lay in her bed, clutching her favorite stuffed bear. The night was still, but something wasn't right. Her dog Max, usually asleep in his bed by the door, stood alert, his ears perked up. "What's wrong, Max?" Amy whispered, sitting up in her bed. The dog let out a low growl, then suddenly went quiet and slumped to the floor, fast asleep. A soft blue light filled her room. Amy tried to scream, but no sound came out. Her body felt light, and then everything went dark. Above Pine Grove, Collection Team 6 reported their success. Specimen A7 secured, moving to transport chamber. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In a small village in Russia, a boy vanished from his grandmother's house. In a busy suburb of Tokyo, 2 sisters disappeared without a trace. One by one, 30 children were lifted from their beds by technology far beyond human understanding. On the command ship, Captain Gray watched the progress with growing unease. The collection teams were efficient, he had to admit. Each child was placed in a special sleep pod, their vital signs carefully monitored. The pods lined the walls of the main holding bay like glowing blue cocoons. High Commander Red strode through the holding bay, inspecting each pod with satisfaction. "Perfect specimens," he said, pausing in front of Amy's pod. "And not a single complication. You see, Captain, your fears were unfounded." Gray checked his data pad, scanning the initial reports. "Sir, something's not right. The humans' global communication network, there's already unusual activity." Red waved his hand dismissively. Normal network fluctuations. Nothing more. But Gray knew better. He zoomed in on specific data streams. Parents were already discovering empty beds. Emergency calls were being made. In Pine Grove, Amy's mother had woken up to check on her daughter, only to find an empty room and an unconscious dog. "Sir, they're responding faster than we anticipated. Their local law enforcement is already—" "Captain Gray," Red interrupted, his voice sharp. "These are primitive beings. By the time they organize any significant response, we'll be long gone from this system." A young technician approached them, looking nervous. "Sirs, we're detecting increased activity at several human military installations." "Normal routine," Red said. "Continue monitoring." Gray moved to a different screen, tracking global communications. His antenna twitched as he noticed patterns emerging. The humans were connecting the disappearances faster than anyone had predicted. Parents were sharing information across their digital networks. Local authorities were already noticing similarities in the cases. In Pine Grove, Amy's mother Lisa wasn't just calling the police. As a former military intelligence officer, she was already reaching out to old contacts. The unconscious dog, the lack of forced entry, the strange blue light reported by neighbors, she was putting pieces together. "High Commander," Gray tried again, "the humans have some kind of pre-existing protocol for this scenario. Look at these communication patterns. They're not panicking. They're organizing." Red finally showed the first sign of concern as he studied the data. Military bases across the planet were quietly going into alert status. Satellite networks were being redirected. Strange equipment, hidden in secret facilities, was being activated. "Impossible," Red muttered. "They couldn't have prepared for this. They don't even know about extraterrestrial life." Gray's screen lit up with new alerts. "Sir, they're tracking us somehow. These energy readings, they've been waiting for something like this. They've been ready for years." In her pod, Amy stirred slightly, as if sensing her mother's determination. Back in Pine Grove, Lisa Thompson was already in her basement, pulling out a locked case she'd hoped never to open. Inside was equipment and information from a classified project she'd worked on years ago. Project Stargazer, Earth's secret defense against alien threats. The collection was complete, but as Gray had warned, this was only the beginning. The real mission was about to start. Not the aliens' mission to study human children, but humanity's mission to get them back. 6 hours after the collection, the command ship's alert system began blaring. Red lights flashed across every deck as Captain Gray rushed to the command center. What he saw on the main screen made his antenna stand straight up in alarm. "High Commander," he called out as Red entered the room. "The humans, they're moving faster than any species we've ever encountered. The massive screen showed a world on fire, not with destruction, but with activity. Hundreds of thousands of human communications were lighting up their monitors. Military bases that had seemed quiet were now buzzing with movement. Airports across the planet were discreetly clearing their runways for unknown aircraft. "This is unprecedented," one of the alien technicians reported. Their communication networks should have shown random panic. Instead, they're coordinating. "Look at these patterns." Red stared at the screen, his confidence finally beginning to crack. "Show me the parent reactions. Surely they're just in emotional distress." Gray pulled up the footage from their observation drones. In Pine Grove, Lisa Thompson wasn't crying or panicking. She was in her garage, working on something that their scanners couldn't quite identify. Similar scenes played out across the globe. Parents of the taken children were not breaking down. They were preparing. "Sir," Gray said quietly, "remember when I told you about their mama bear syndrome? Look at these readings." The emotional scanning systems were showing numbers that made no sense. Human parents were producing hormone and adrenaline levels that went beyond their charts. Their brains were operating in patterns that the aliens had never seen before. "Impossible," Red whispered. "Their bodies shouldn't be capable of this." A junior officer rushed in with new data. "Sirs, we've detected activation signals from hidden facilities around their planet. They're powering up. Something. Our systems can't identify the technology." On the screen, they watched as Lisa Thompson made calls to other parents. Within hours, they had formed a network. Military parents, scientist parents, engineer parents, all connecting, all sharing information. The humans weren't just responding, they were organizing with terrifying efficiency. "Look at this," Gray pointed to another screen. "Their governments are already working together. No debates, no politics. Just action. It's like they're following an established protocol." Red paced the command center, his tail twitching nervously. "But how? They couldn't have known about us. They couldn't have prepared for this." "Sir," Gray brought up his research files. "They'd been preparing for decades. Every alien story, every movie about extraterrestrial contact. They weren't just entertainment. They were preparing their people mentally for this possibility. And look at this." He showed footage from various military installations. Hidden hangar doors were opening. Strange aircraft, unlike anything seen in public, were being rolled out. The humans had been building things, secret things, waiting for this day. In the holding bay, the children slept peacefully in their pods, unaware of the storm brewing. Amy Thompson shifted in her sleep, as if somehow sensing her mother's determination. The pod sensors recorded a spike in her brain activity, matching the intense patterns they were seeing in the parents. "Sir," Gray said, his voice urgent, "we need to return the children now." Before, a new alarm cut him off. Their long-range sensors had detected something launching from Earth. Multiple somethings. They were small, fast, and completely unlike any human spacecraft they had known about. "High Commander," a technician called out, panic in their voice. "The humans, they're not just coming. They know exactly where we are. Our cloaking technology isn't working against their tracking systems." Red finally understood the gravity of their mistake. He turned to Gray, his scales pale with worry. How did we miss all of this?" Gray watched as more hidden facilities activated across Earth. "Because we made the worst possible mistake, sir. We thought superior technology meant superior species, but we just took their children. And now we're about to learn what that means." In Pine Grove, Lisa Thompson started her car, a strange device on the seat beside her. She wasn't heading to the police station or her military base. She was driving to a hidden facility in the mountains, one of many places where humans have been quietly preparing for this exact moment. The first signs weren't signs of human weakness or panic. They were signs of a species that had long ago decided, if something came from the stars, they would be ready. Lisa Thompson drove her car fast through the dark mountain roads. The device on her passenger seat blinked steadily, tracking something far above Earth. Behind her car, a line of other vehicles followed. All parents of missing children, all with similar devices, all heading to the same hidden facility. Meanwhile, in orbit, the alien command ship was in chaos. "They're everywhere," a technician shouted, pointing at the detection screens. "Hidden bases activating in mountains, under oceans, even in the Arctic." Captain Gray watched as massive hangar doors opened in the sides of mountains that their scans had shown as solid rock. Underground facilities that had appeared to be simple mines or military storage now revealed their true purpose. Humanity's response was unlike anything the collective had ever seen. "High Commander," Gray reported, 30 different facilities are powering up. One for each taken child. The humans, they're launching ships." Red rushed to the main viewport just in time to see the first human vessel break through Earth's atmosphere. It wasn't the primitive spacecraft they had expected. This ship was sleek, black, and moved with technology that should have been impossible for humans to possess. "What are we looking at?" Red demanded. A senior analyst pulled up the data. "They're calling it Project Guardian. Each facility was built and crewed by parents who work in their military and space programs. They've been building these ships in secret for years." More ships emerged from Earth, each one piloted by teams that included parents of the taken children. Lissa Thompson had just reached her assigned facility, deep in the Rocky Mountains. She wasn't just Amy's worried mother anymore. She was Captain Thompson, lead pilot of Guardian Ship 7. "Sir," a junior officer called out in panic. "The humans are using some kind of tracking technology we've never seen before. They're following the energy signatures of their children's DNA." Gray's antenna twitched as he studied the data. "They're not just tracking the children. Look at these readings. Every parent is somehow connected to their child's unique signal. It's like they're homing beacons." In the holding bay, the children's pods began to show unusual readings. Each child's brainwaves were somehow reaching out, creating patterns that matched their parents' emotional signatures. Amy's pod glowed slightly brighter as her mother put on a flight suit in the mountain facility. Red paced nervously. "How many ships?" 30. "Sir, one for each child. And they're not alone." Gray showed the tactical display. Regular military forces are providing support. Every nation's space defense systems are working together. They're coordinating like they've practiced this. The truth hit Red like a physical blow. They have practiced this. All their divisions, all their conflicts. They were ready to put it all aside the moment their children were threatened. On Earth, Lisa strapped herself into the pilot's seat of Guardian Ship 7. Around her neck hung a locket containing a piece of Amy's hair, the DNA beacon that would lead them straight to their target. The ship hummed with power that humans weren't supposed to have. "All Guardian ships, report in," came the command over the global response channel. One by one, 30 voices responded. Mothers, fathers, all trained, all prepared, all with one purpose. "This is Guardian 7, ready to fly," Lisa responded, her voice steady. Years of training for this possible day had prepared her well. In orbit, the alien crew watched in growing fear as the Guardian ships moved into attack formation. These weren't clumsy human rockets. These were ships designed with one specific mission: to chase down and catch alien vessels. "Sir," Gray said quietly to Red, "they're not just coming to get their children. Look at their formation, their weapons. They're coming to make sure this never happens again." Red finally understood. They had thought they were studying humans by taking their children. Instead, they were about to become part of humanity's first lesson to the galaxy. "Should we run?" someone asked. Captain Gray shook his head. "Look at their ship's energy readings. Look at the determination in their maneuvers. These humans, they've spent years preparing for this moment." He paused, watching Lisa's ship move into position. "We couldn't run far enough." The response had begun. Humanity was coming, not just with superior preparation, but with something far more powerful: the unstoppable force of parents fighting for their children. The black void of space lit up with the engines of 30 Guardian ships as they closed in on the alien vessels. Inside Guardian Ship 7, Lisa Thompson's eyes were fixed on her tracking screen. The small dot representing Amy's DNA signature pulsed stronger with each passing moment. All Guardian ships, this is Control, a voice crackled over the comm system. Your children's signals are getting stronger. Remember your training. Stay in formation. On the alien command ship, panic was spreading. Captain Gray watched as their supposedly superior vessels were being hunted down one by one. The harvesters, designed for stealth collection missions, were no match for ships built specifically to chase them. They're not just following us, a technician reported, voice shaking. They're hurting us. Look at their formation. The human ships had spread out in a massive net, pushing the alien vessels into a tight cluster. Years of studying alien abduction reports had taught them exactly how these ships would try to escape. High Commander, Gray reported, I'm detecting energy signatures from Earth. More facilities are powering up. They're launching their second wave. Red rushed to the view screen just in time to see larger human ships rising from hidden ocean bases. These weren't pursuit vessels like the Guardians. These were battleships, armed with weapons that made the alien sensors scream in warning. Impossible, Red shouted. Their technology was primitive just days ago. Gray checked his readings. No, sir. We just never saw their real technology. They kept it hidden, waiting for something like this. In her Guardian ship, Lisa led her attack wing with precise movements. The DNA tracker around her neck grew warm as they got closer to the harvester carrying Amy. Every parent aboard every Guardian ship wore similar trackers, each tuned to their own child's unique signature. Guardian 7 to all ships, Lisa commanded. My wing will take the lead harvester. Parents whose children are aboard, form up on me. The rest, keep those other ships boxed in. The human ships moved with practiced grace. They had trained for this, prepared for this, built their ships and weapons for this exact purpose. Each Guardian ship carried specialized equipment designed to disable alien technology without harming the children inside. Sir, an alien officer called out, the humans are using some kind of disruption field. Our engines are losing power. Gray monitored the situation with growing amazement. The humans weren't just attacking. They were systematically shutting down every system that could be used to harm the children. It was like they had studied alien technology for years, learning its weaknesses. In the holding bay, the children's pods began to glow brighter. Amy stirred in her sleep, her hand reaching out as if trying to touch something. The closer the Guardian ships got, the stronger the connection between parents and children became. All ships, prepare boarding procedures. Lisa's voice was steady as she guided her ship closer to the harvester. Remember, we go in fast and quiet, just like we practiced. Red watched helplessly as the human ships surrounded them. How did they practice? They never encountered our ships before. Look at these readings, Gray pointed to his screen. Earth has thousands of hidden facilities. They built mock-up alien ships underground. They'd been training for decades, running simulations, preparing their people, all in secret. The massive human battleships moved into position, their weapons trained on the alien fleet. They weren't firing. They didn't need to. Their presence alone was enough to show that any resistance would be futile. Lisa's voice came over all channels, broadcasting to both human and alien ships. This is Guardian 7 to alien vessels. We are here for our children. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are useless. You have one chance to surrender. In the command ship, Red turned to Gray. Can we fight back? Gray shook his head, watching as more human ships emerged from Earth. Sir, we thought we were studying them by taking their children. But they've been studying us all along. Every UFO sighting, every mysterious light in the sky. They were learning, preparing, building. The hunt was over. The humans hadn't just caught up to their prey. They had outsmarted them before the chase even began. Now came the most dangerous part. Parents coming to take back their children. The alien ships hung powerless in space, surrounded by humanity's forces. Inside Guardian Ship 7, Lisa Thompson led the first boarding team. Each parent soldier wore special suits designed for this moment, with built-in DNA trackers that would lead them straight to their children. "Remember your training," Lisa spoke to her team. "We go in fast. We get our kids, we get out. No revenge, no delays. Children are the mission." Captain Gray watched from the command ship's bridge as the human boarding pods attached themselves to the harvester vessels. The aliens had expected panic, rage, or clumsy attacks. Instead, they got something far more frightening: perfectly trained parents executing a plan years in the making. "They're cutting through our hulls," a technician shouted. "The humans. They know exactly where to breach." Red stared at the screens in disbelief. "How can they know our ship designs so well?" "Because they've been preparing for us longer than we've been watching them," Gray answered, checking his datapad. "Look at these readings. Their suits, their tools, everything they're using was made specifically to counter our technology." Inside the lead harvester, Lisa's team moved with silent efficiency. Their suits' heads-up displays showed clear paths to their children, mapped out by the DNA tracking system. Years of drilling in mock-up alien ships had taught them every possible layout. "Mom Squad, moving to Holding Bay 3, Lisa whispered into her comm. The other parents followed close behind, each one locked onto their own child's signal. They weren't just soldiers on a mission. They were mothers and fathers coming for their kids. In the holding bay, the children's pods began to pulse with bright light. The closer their parents got, the stronger the connection grew. Amy's pod glowed the brightest as Lisa approached. "Sir," an alien guard reported to Red. "The human children. Their vital signs are all spiking. It's like they know their parents are coming." Gray monitored the situation from his station. The bond between human parents and children. It's not just emotional. There's something deeper, something our science can't explain. Lisa's team reached the holding bay first. Their suits' systems quickly disabled the pod controls, using technology reversed engineered from years of studying alien artifacts. Each parent moved to their child's pod, their DNA trackers glowing bright green to show a perfect match. "Amy," Lisa whispered as she opened her daughter's pod. The girl's eyes fluttered open, showing no fear, only recognition. Across the holding bay, other children were waking up to see their parents' faces behind protective visors. Red finally understood the true magnitude of their mistake. "They're not just rescuing their children," he said, watching the scene unfold. "They're showing us, showing the whole galaxy, what happens when you threaten a human child." More teams breached the other harvester ships. Each group moved with the same precise efficiency, the same single-minded focus. Within minutes, all 30 children were secured. "All teams report," Lisa's voice came over the comm. "Children secured. Beginning extraction." The alien crew could only watch as the human parents carried their children back to their ships. There was no celebration, no wasted motion, just the calm, professional completion of a mission they had hoped they'd never have to execute. Captain Gray turned to Red. "Sir, they're leaving. But look at what they're deploying." Small devices floated out from each Guardian ship, surrounding the alien fleet. They weren't weapons. They were warning beacons, broadcasting a simple message in every known galactic language. Earth's children are protected. Any attempt to take them will be met with the full force of humanity's response. As the Guardian ships prepared to return to Earth, Lisa held Amy close in the medical bay of her ship. The girl wasn't crying or scared. Instead, she looked proud. "I knew you'd come, Mom," Amy said softly. "We all did, sweetheart," Lisa replied, looking out at the alien ships now marked with humanity's warning. "We've been getting ready for a long time." The reckoning wasn't just a rescue mission. It was humanity's message to the stars. Never underestimate a species willing to spend decades preparing for one purpose: protecting their children. 1 month after the rescue, Captain Gray stood before the Galactic Council, his antenna lowered respectfully as he delivered his report. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from 100 different species, all gathered to hear about the incident that had changed their understanding of humanity. The humans didn't just defeat us, Gray explained, gesturing to the holographic display showing the Guardian ships. They taught us a lesson about their species that we must never forget. In the viewing gallery, Lisa Thompson sat with Amy beside her, both invited as Earth's representatives. They wore simple blue uniforms that marked them as part of Earth's new Space Defense Force. Other parents and rescued children sat with them, their presence a powerful reminder of what had happened. High Commander Red stepped forward next, his scales still pale from the experience. We thought we were the advanced species. We were wrong. While we watched their public space programs, they were building something far more impressive in secret. The council members murmured as images appeared showing Earth's hidden facilities. Underground bases larger than cities. Training centers where parents had prepared for years. Laboratories where they had studied and adapted alien technology. But the most remarkable thing, Gray continued, wasn't their hidden technology. It was this. He played a recording showing the moment when parents and children reunited on the harvester ships. The bond between them glowed visibly on the energy scanners, something never seen before in any species. The humans have given us terms, Red announced to the council. They call it the Children's Accord. Amy stood up and walked to the center of the chamber, carrying a simple digital tablet. Her mother watched proudly as the girl who had once been a captive now helped shape galactic law. We don't want war, Amy spoke clearly, her voice carrying through the chamber. We just want to make sure no children, human or alien, ever get taken from their families again. The council members leaned forward as the terms appeared on their screens. 1. All species must recognize the right of children to be protected too. No child of any species can be taken for study or any other purpose. 3. Earth will share its defensive technology with any species that signs the accord. 4. A new galactic protection force will be established to enforce these rules. Humanity surprised us, Gray said, looking at Lisa and Amy. We thought they were divided, focused only on their differences, but when their children were threatened, they showed us what unity truly means. The images changed to show the Guardian ships returning to Earth. In every city, people had celebrated not just their own children's return, but every child's rescue. There had been no nationalism, no politics, just shared joy and relief. I request, Gray announced, to be appointed as the first ambassador to Earth. Not because they need our guidance, but because we need theirs. He touched a badge on his uniform, a new symbol showing an adult protecting a child, created to represent the Children's Accord. The council voted unanimously to accept the terms. One by one, representatives came forward to sign the accord, each understanding that humanity had changed the galaxy's future. Later, as the ceremony ended, Lisa and Amy stood with Gray on an observation deck, looking at Earth floating in the distance. Did you really spend years preparing for us? Gray asked. Lisa smiled. We hoped we'd never need to use any of it. But as parents, we had to be ready, not just for our children, but for all children. Amy touched the DNA tracker she now wore as a necklace, a reminder of the bond that had led to her rescue. Mom says we're going to help protect alien kids too now. Gray's antenna twitched with emotion. You humans, you turned a moment of conflict into a force for good across the galaxy. That's what parents do, Lisa replied, hugging Amy close. We take scary things and turn them into something better for our children. As they looked out at the stars, warning beacons glittered in orbit around every inhabited world, each broadcasting the same message in all languages. All children are protected, never again. It wasn't just the end of a rescue story. It was the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history, where humanity's greatest strength, the love between parent and child, became the foundation for a lasting peace.